morning, Daniel Swartz here. Hey, let's talk about debt. So, a lot of people go into debt. They really complain about the lender. They complain like the bank ripped me off, or I got my student loans and the schools ripped me off, and people want loan forgiveness, and they want the federal government to step in and wipe out the loan. They want to give up control over their lives, and every time you ask the federal government to step in and protect you from the real world, then you give up a little more control over your life, and then the federal government gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, which causes more economic problems for everyone. Anyways, the debt thing. So, as a young person, you were told going into debt for school or getting a huge mortgage to just, like, how many times when I was younger did I hear the words of just loan money, do it now and do it right the first time. You won't regret it, because then you might never get it. You know what? I'm fine with that. If I am never able in my life to save up enough money to build or buy my dream home or my dream farm, I'm fine with that. If I couldn't finance it, if I have to get a huge loan to do the thing I dream of, and then I can only afford to make the minimum payments, it isn't going to be worth it. It's never worth it. There are so many people out there right now who have loaned themselves to the max, and they can barely make the payments, and one little hiccup in their life and they get behind, and then they cry about it, and then they're mad at the banker, and they're mad at the person who holds his power over them. But the person you should be mad at is yourself falling into that trap. Now, I'm only an 8th grade educated idiot. It is not that hard. You have at your very fingertips smartphones. If you don't have a smartphone, you can go to a public library and go in the browser, and you can figure out, like, you can calculate mortgage payments, loan payments, debt payment. You can punch in the total number, you can punch in your interest and your max number of years that the loan that go do some research on the loan that you're thinking about taking, and look at how much interest you're going to pay over that amount of time, and look at, let's say, if it's for a business, you better have a good, I'm not against getting a loan, but if your model that you're designing, maybe a lot of people, they don't even do any paperwork. They're just like, I want to do this kind of business, and I'm going to need to loan this much money, therefore I need this much money from the bank. They go loan the money to get started, they buy all their equipment, they get into this business and find out that they can't make the payments, or they can barely make the payments, or that the only way that they can make the payments is to work non-stop and sleep as little as possible and never rest and go. Then they get stuck into this financial trap, and life sucks, and it's all work, and they're so desperate to get away that they get a credit card, and they go on a vacation, and they rack up thousands in debt for that credit card, and then they're back to the daily grind, and they're making credit card payments on top of their other payments that they couldn't keep up with, and then they fall into that trap, and they start doing it more and more, and then their debt just keeps compounding and piling up. So, don't be like that. Do your math before you get the loan. Is it really worth it? It's really easy to calculate. You can go in, you can punch it in, you can have mortgage calculators, debt calculators, you can find these things online. It's really easy, and you just punch it in. You go, okay, does my business model include me being able to make the minimum payments plus extra against the principal? If it does not, don't do it. If your business model is only, like, if you've actually done a little bit of paperwork and your business model shows you only being able to make the minimum payment, you are going to hate this arrangement in 10 years. Possibly less time than that. And it's going to suck, because you're going to know, hey, I got 20 more years left to go. So, do the math before you sign the paper. Make sure you understand fully what you're getting into, and make sure you can easily pay this thing off. And even if you've done all the calculations and you're like, oh man, I can make double that payment and pay this, knock this thing out in 5 or 10 years, shit happens. So it's always a risk. There's always a risk. So weigh the risk carefully before you do it, and decide beforehand if you can handle what would happen if this plan you have does not work out. Now, I'm not against going to college. Hey, if you know what you want to do and you're really into this thing and you've done your research, great. Are you really ahead though if you get a loan at 18 and you have 2 to 4 years of college, and then you're paying that loan off for 30 years? Because everybody says, do it now, or you'll regret it. What if we had this just radically different model where you fall into some work that potentially you go work for somebody in the field that you want to work in, doesn't require that degree yet, but you're in the environment, and you save up money, and you live cheaply. You don't need the big house, the big car. You live as cheap as possible, whatever means necessary, and you save up the money to then take the classes. Or you just go to a cheaper college where you can do online courses or whatever. And the other option is you have somebody else pay for it. Somebody who is wealthy and wants to invest in you and your future. Otherwise, this dream you have in your mind, it's probably not worth it if it includes being a slave for the rest of your life. And then you might always have that in the back of your mind. If things were different, I wish I could have done that. But hey, learn to be content with having food in your belly and a warm place to sleep and loving family. I think you'll have more fulfillment that way than this big old dream in your mind. I mean, I've dreamed of being a farmer for years. Never made any money at it. So I'm a construction worker. I contract, and I'm really good at that, and I find fulfillment and satisfaction in it. So just because you have this dream at 18, I dreamed of being a cowboy when I was 16, 17, 18. Well, shit, that'd be even less money than I make now. It'd be really hard to cowboy and raise a family. So, point is, when you're a teenager, I think it's really foolish to encourage kids to make a lifelong decision that's going to affect them for the rest of their life when you're 18. Seriously? Maybe the kids are being taught wrong and being advised poorly. So, if you're part of the generation that has gone through this with horrible loans, and do the right thing and advise your kids to do something different. But often what you see is the older generation's like, well, that's what I did, and life sucks and we can't help it, but that's what you got to do. If you want to get ahead in life, you're going to have to do it this way, and I'm so sorry, there's nothing you can do about it. I wish the government would come in and fix this, but we'll just live through our life like this, helpless and hopeless. Don't do that. Take your life experiences and learn from them, and teach the next generation not to do it. And then at least you could have the satisfaction of saying, man, I'm glad they didn't have to go through what I did. Anyways, just some ramblings. Y'all have a great day.